Good morning and welcome to Pittsburgh City Council's public hearing for Saturday, December 17th, 2022, relative to the 2003 budget amendments. Would the clerk please read the subject of today's hearing?
Today's public hearing is on City Council amendments to the 2023 operating, capital, and council budgets.
For the record, I want to note that we are joined by Councilman Wilson, who is with us online this morning. Our first order of business is going to be presentation, followed by testimony from registered speakers and then anyone else who is with us. And I want to let the record reflect that we've also been joined by Madam President as well as Councilwoman Warwick. So to begin, I want to provide one clarification for the public, and which is at our hearing on Wednesday, we spoke about council's cost of living adjustment, and there were different numbers thrown out. Just for the public's clarification, the cost of living adjustment for city council members is 6%. With that, I'm gonna now turn it over to our budget director, Mr. Peter McDevitt. I'm gonna ask him to review council amendments to be made this coming Monday, so the public is aware of all such amendments. And then I'm gonna ask Mr. McDevitt to review council as a body. Mr. McDevitt?
Thank you. Just to sum up, as you said, council voted on a number of amendments on Wednesday, and there are just small technical changes to some of those amendments, and I'll go over those now. Resolution 2022-947, which deals with the capital budget. City Council voted to include all of the administration's capital amendments and all 5 of City Council's amendments, and we will be striking resolution or amendment number 5 from City Council's list of amendments, which had to do with changing the ARPA plan and capital projects within that, but we ended up changing the ARPA plan in a different way, so we need to strike amendment number 5. Resolution 2022-948, which dealt with setting the operating budget. There are technical corrections to the administration's operating personnel related amendments number 6 and number 12. Number 6, we just corrected the title of the employee noted in it from film and permit coordinator to film and event permit coordinator. And number 12 had noted that they were adding 2 positions to the Stop the Violence Fund, but they're only adding 1 position. And the amount in the outer years, the cost actually decreased from $554,010 to $415,709 over 5 years. Also striking council amendment number 9, which had to do with transferring funding from the operating budget to the Stop the Violence Fund, or to the Parks Tax Trust Fund. The Parks Tax Trust Fund never actually touches the operating budget, so that is not a necessary amendment to make. So we're just striking that one from the record. And also updating council's operating amendment number 1 to add healthcare vacancy allowances in DPW operations, DPW environmental services, DOMI, and PLI. Resolution number 2022-949, the same technical correct, which has to do with setting salaries and employees across the city. The same technical corrections to the administration's operating personnel related amendments number 6 and number 12. We're also adding the administration's operating personnel related amendments 13 and 14. Those have to do with healthcare rates for employees. So we added those just to make sure that it was covered. Again, striking council's operating amendment number 9 because it's redundant. It's for the parks tax that never touches it, and also number 8 because that is transferring pay-go money to the capital budget, which is not related to employee expenses. And also the same updates to council amendment number 1 to add healthcare vacancy allowances in DPW, DOMI, and PLI. Resolution 2022-953, which has to do with setting the appropriations and salaries for the Stop the Violence Trust Fund. There was just a couple of amendments that related to it that we had missed on Wednesday. Administration operating personnel related amendment number 12 had to do with the Stop the Violence Trust Fund, as well as council operating amendments 1, 1B, and 2, and also the technical updates to council operating amendment number 1. And lastly, Resolution 2022-954, which had to do with all of the expenditures out of the Parks Tax Trust Fund. We added administration operating personnel related amendment number 14, which had to do with those healthcare changes in trust funds, as well as council operating amendment 1B, which had to do with salary increases within trust funds. So those are, that's the overview of the amendments that will be made before final action is done on Monday. And now I can go over the council as a body overview. City Council as a body provides City Council with centralized staff support. The City Clerk is elected by members of City Council every 3 years and is responsible for the due, proper, and faithful performance of all operational matters of City Council. Under the direction of Council, the Clerk Division coordinates and schedules all official City Council meetings and public hearings and provides constituent and legislative support. This division oversees, guides, tracks, and records the entire legislative process, from the introduction of proposed legislation to final approval and publication. All proposed ordinances and resolutions are submitted for processing. This division also oversees the signature process on all approved legislation. The city clerk records the legislation into the municipal record book. The Records Management Division serves as a document and information resource for City Council, city departments, and all government and outside entities and the general public. The Records Management Division is responsible for maintaining a citywide record management system. They maintain custody, control, filing, and storage of all legislation, books, papers, minutes, and other written and recorded documents and material pertaining to the operation of city government. The City Council Budget Division monitors city finances and conducts analysis of city operations and policy matters. This division analyzes all legislation relating to finances that pass through City Council, prepares and distributes to Council periodic reports on revenues, expenditures, and other financial trends relative to the financial operation and fiscal condition of the city. The division produces, supervises, and reviews the city's final annual operating, capital, and community development budgets, and compiles special reports and executive summaries for Council to assist them in their deliberations. Other divisions include Public Engagement, the Health Division, and the Solicitors Division. A quick position summary. Council as a body contains one less position in 2022 than it did in 2023, which is one Public Engagement Specialist that has been removed. Compared to the mayor's budget, a number of small salary increases have been submitted as amendments, including the Deputy Clerk 2 Secretary and Deputy City Clerk 2 have increases. Deputy City Clerk 1, another Deputy City Clerk 1, and Records Management Manager also has an increase, as well as the Archivist, City Council Solicitor, Community Health and Human Services Policy Manager, and there is a swap of a paralegal for an administrative specialist for a savings of $14,297. As far as the summary of non-personnel changes, the only non-personnel increase was $1 million in miscellaneous for council grants. These are previously CDBG dollars budgeted in the capital budget, so that was something that the mayor put into the budget this year. That was a change. All other changing were just accounting corrections to match up with the financial management system.
Thank you very much. Let the record reflect that we also have Councilwoman Strasburger with us this morning. With that, we're now going to turn it over to our registered speakers. Each speaker will be given 3 minutes to speak. Our first registered speaker is Ziggy Edwards.
Hi, good to see you all. My name is Ziggy Edwards and I live in the Run. I'm here to talk about serious problems with Pittsburgh's budget priorities, using my district as an example. I'll start with something positive. On Wednesday, DOMI Director Kim Lucas publicly committed to traffic calming quote-unquote spot improvements along Hazelwood Avenue for 2023. And on another positive note, I want to recognize that our newly elected representative on City Council, my neighbor Barb, had something to do with that. And Director Lucas's reference to the need for future larger scale improvements on Hazelwood Avenue tells me DOMI acknowledges the extremely dangerous conditions on this residential street. The problem is what we had to go through to get her commitment. Serious injuries have been occurring on Hazelwood Avenue for decades. I interviewed one resident who, while folding in his side view mirror, was hit by a car and spent months recovering from a broken neck. But Domi only agreed to help now because doing so allows them to proceed without pushback on the Sylvan Avenue repaving project, which is part of the rejected Mon-Oakland Connector boondoggle. Priorities don't get more backward than this. Even when the next leg of Sylvan Avenue is opened, which is a whole other can of expensive gourmet worms with its runoff and subsidence issues, it will merely connect Hazelwood Avenue to another busy, dangerous street, Greenfield Avenue. Here's what Domi told us about Greenfield Avenue. It does qualify for the neighborhood traffic calming program, but it won't be funded for construction next year. Nothing will be done until at least 2026 after the anticipated replacement of Swinburne Bridge. At a July 14th meeting about that project manager Zachary Workman said, "It's definitely something that's on Domi's radar for improvements in the future, but it's in the long-range plan as resources become available." Resources are available now and have been for years. The MOC still has at least $6.7 million allocated, even though our community said no to it and our mayor halted it. Several years ago, a broad coalition of my neighbors directed the Our Money, Our Solution petition to City Council, asking you to move all MOC funds to the infrastructure needs we identified. Please read it. Our list included traffic calming on both Hazelwood and Greenfield Avenues, as well as safer pedestrian crossings on 2nd Avenue. I am supposedly one of the people Domi's building the Sylvan Avenue Trail for. I would bike it all the time if I could access it without getting creamed on Greenfield Avenue. I'm not against a bike trail if that's what it really is, but even the loveliest bike trail doesn't take precedence over basic safety needs in surrounding neighborhoods, and if it does, then who is it really for? Meanwhile, on Greenfield Avenue, a motorist flipped his car this summer and emergency responders had to free him with the jaws of life. My neighbors risk their lives every time they cross the street. It should not take a tragedy as horrible as the death of a 6-year-old boy on Johnston Avenue to get some simple, even temporary traffic calming measures. Pittsburgh needs to get its priorities straight. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That exhausts our list of registered speakers. We'll now move on to any speakers with us in chambers wishing to speak. Please come forward. Provide your name, neighborhood for the record.
Yeah, my name is Dennis McManus, and I'm from Morningside. And I hadn't planned on saying anything here today, but I would be remiss if I just sat here and did not thank all of you for the support that you've given to the Food Justice Fund. It's been a long journey to that, starting with the development of the Greater Pittsburgh Food Action Plan several years ago, and then an awful lot of work on people throughout the city of Pittsburgh to try to make that a reality. But in the final analysis, it came down to you folks to make that happen. And being from Morningside, you'll I think appreciate the fact that I'm especially grateful to my member of council, Deb Gross, who worked tirelessly on this as well. I think you're going to be very pleased with the results of that effort, and I think you're going to look back and say, I'm glad we funded this Food Justice Fund. But again, thank you all very much.
Thank you very much. Just let the record reflect, we've also been joined by Councilwoman Gross, who is with us online. Is there anyone else wishing to speak? Anyone else wishing to speak? Seeing none, this is the last public hearing for our 2023 budget process. I'll turn over to members if there's anything they would like to say or add.
I do want to just add that even though the other day when we talked about council's pay raise, there was a number given, or no, a percentage given. There was also a correct percentage given. So I just want to make sure that people understand that we did say both. But I'm glad that we're clarifying it today. And I want people to understand that it goes by the rules of council, so and that our solicitor's advice. So
Thank you. Any other member? If not, given that this is the final hearing, I will also just take a moment to thank both the administration, our budget office, as well as all members, as well as our solicitor for all their help and assistance in getting us through this process.
I want to say one more thing. I want to thank you. You've been an amazing chairperson. So thank you very much for all your
I'll
work.
second that.
Yeah.
Thank you. I will take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
We are adjourned. Thank you all.
Bye.